Hello and welcome to Ghost Hunter. Today we're going to get through the mines. This is a much less boring level than the last one because there's a lot more variety to it and a lot more to do. As well as it being just more visually interesting despite being a mine because it's at least not trees and water. So here we have our, quite close to the final file of this level. We have a poster, propaganda poster, about the miners fighting back against the Montfort, or trying to unionize against her at least. Things obviously didn't go too well with the way the town ended up. So let's just grab a bit of this ammo, and you can see just how finicky it can be. And as always, already this area has a much more visually interesting look to it with the wooden slats and the flooding and everything. It looks more structured, which makes sense because it's not a swamp, but the swamp felt kind of aimless. It at least feels like you're going somewhere real. Because it's a bit overly constructed, but there you go. And here is a small puzzle element. We can't get through that deep water because Lazarus can't swim. So, luckily, we have a character who can traverse water without needing to breathe. So let's take care of that and see what she can do to let Lazarus pass that area. The first major puzzle of this level. A simple enough puzzle, but we'll see when we get to it, when we've just flown her through these tunnels. Now, Astral's controls, as you can tell, can be a little, I hesitate to use the word floaty, but you know what I mean. It can be a little kind of weird with the way she turns, or sometimes doesn't, and it can be a little awkward to control. But it's never too big a problem because she doesn't fight. So it's not as much of a problem as Lazarus' controls can sometimes be. So let's head in here and see what we can do about this large amount of water. There is, of course, a weakened floor panel, so let's see what we can do if we put on a bit of weight. Incoming! And there we go, that's part one of the puzzle. So let's quickly Revenant now, and we'll find the way out of this area. This can be kind of hard to find, but it's this ladder over here that's got a little highlighting light thing on it. That is at least nice that it shows you where you're trying to go, as long as you'll know what you're looking for. So let's Revenant again so we can interact with this thing. It seems important. And we're right. There we go. That pump is now actually working and is draining the water from this area, so Lazarus can actually proceed here. So let's go. And hopefully gather some more ghost energy because we are very low on ammo right now. Of course, he still can't go down there because it's still mostly flooded, which is way too high anyway, so we'll have to go through this little passage instead and see where this leads us. These are like the only, well, they're not the only, but there are very few enemies in this level. These are the largest fight in this entire level. These like 3 guys on this shore, and then maybe 1 guy on a distant tower. This is a fairly lenient area for that kind of thing. One thing I've noticed about this game is it is frightfully well balanced. In a later section, I got past a particularly tricky fight, or set of fights rather, with about 50 or 60 health left over. And by the end of the next section, which proved a lot easier to get through, I'd pretty much gained it all back. So the game is very good at balancing itself like that. So you have a stressful fight where you lose a lot of resources, and so that was a hard fight. And then you have a less stressful fight against much easier enemies, or at least fewer enemies, that allows you to replenish what you've lost, so that you can be ready for the next time it gets hard again. This game likes to do that. It likes to come at you in waves like that. Waves of like puzzle, then combat, then puzzle, then combat, with each one of them preparing you for the other. Either through teaching you finer controls, or through just giving you more ammo and health. Yeah, I think that's pretty close to it for that shore. But there's also a few little balls we need to pick up now around this area because we have very low ammo. But unfortunately our grenade cannot move nearly far enough to actually collect those, so I mean, happily we can drag them off and kind of gradually pull them towards us, but it's just kind of... This is about as far as I'm willing to go here. It takes too long otherwise. And as you can see, we have another variation of this puzzle. Get the dynamite, put it there and blow it up. So let's find the dynamite. In this fairly familiar looking room. Just looking at it from a different angle. So let's finally do something about the rest of that pump, because it can't reach the water anymore. And there we go. Now we need to patiently wait for the water to finish draining from this area, which can take a little time. Gives us a little time to reflect on things. And as soon as we can, we'll head down this ladder. There we are. I like the jiggling of the pump. It's very dynamic and kind of... It makes me smile to see it jiggle like that. It's trying to do its work, unfortunately it just can't reach the water anymore. And it's quite loud pump as well. So here's the dynamite. So that is puzzle number 1 in this game, in this level, completed. A bit more elaborate than other puzzles, and has a few stages to it, so that's kind of something, and it required you to use some of your techniques that you haven't had to use much, so that's nice to be able to use astral powers and stuff. It adds some variety to the gameplay. So let's finally get rid of this rock and see what lies beyond. So while there's that interesting looking building over there, there's just no way across that raging river. Although that seems promising, a few of the rocks have landed in that river. Let's see what else we can damage.
There must be a way across.
My thoughts exactly. This guy can be a pain, because he's really far away, so you kind of have to snipe him. But because of that, you're kind of a sitting duck. See, I'm just going to lose a lot of health here while trying to shoot this guy before he does too much damage to me. And there's the damage we needed to do here. Let's just finish this guy off so he doesn't just pick us off like an idiot. And yeah, we're basically out of ammo now. It's going to be very hard to actually reach this. So we're going to head up this slope to see if it'll get me any closer to it. This is the only purpose this slope has, is getting you close enough to try and snag the ammo, really. It's like, there's not really anything up this way. But you can see a preview of a fairly interestingly built area. And there we go, we get an extra few bits of ammo there. We're at least not terrible anymore. So let's head back and see what we can get across with now. The entire hut has exploded. Kind of wishing I had Link's paraglider right now. Make things a lot easier. Of course, Umar could probably land straight into the water and drown anyway, but there you go. So let's get across the makeshift bridge we've just built over here. Once I have just, I believe I'm going to try and to get a little more of this ammo over here, because again, we are really low right now. But it's just almost. There we go. Just a little more. There we go. We've got more bullets. We've got some bullets. That's nice to have some bullets. So now we can move on. Now that we've cleared this area out as far as we can. So let's now cross this makeshift bridge that we've caused by blowing up half the mine. It's always fun to do that when you get to an environmental puzzle, just blow up the environment and end the puzzle. So, through here. Now, I'm a little paranoid here because there is a man who spawns here, but sometimes he spawns now and sometimes he spawns later. He didn't spawn now, so let's just move on. Be very careful because there is actually another piggy to follow behind, another howler hiding in this area, so we don't want to startle him too early, do we? As you can hear him now. Right around the corner. Nobody here but us rabbits. There we go. He's now moving away, but he does something mean here. He does something other howlers don't tend to, does a complete about face. If you're following behind him, no matter how quiet you're being, he will see you and get startled, which is just fairly mean. I do kind of like these guys though. While they're kind of annoying to deal with, they have a kind of a charm to them, with that ugly kind of cuteness. So let's just move on through this gate now that he's out the way, because we don't have to do anything with him anymore. We're done with him. Doesn't really matter if he sees us. And go through this door here. This is why I backtracked in the last video, because we need the Howler's power to get through this next section, and the game only tells you need to capture them right now, miles past any other chance of actually capturing a Howler. If you were playing this game yourself and you didn't know this was coming, you likely wouldn't even know you could capture the Howler, so you'd probably end up doing what I did both times I played through this game, both on my beaten game and on the one I'm practicing this game on now, and just walk right past all of the Howlers, just get through those puzzles and then not have one for now, and have to backtrack past both the mines and the swamp to get right back to the town, and then go halfway back to the town to get to that one Howler that was the latest one we had access to. But luckily I've done that beforehand, so we don't need to do that now. Now we have what we need. But yeah, this is where this game's problem of it doesn't tell you what to do can often be really painful. Because that's quite a long way to backtrack through literally nothing. Because enemies don't respawn or anything, so there's nothing to fight, there's nothing to do, it's just walking. So, we have a puzzle around here. First of all, there's still something else I want to grab, because we are very low on ghost energy. This is an astral heavy puzzle. So let's head up here, in this little area that really only serves, like, it doesn't really serve much of a purpose. I never really saw the point of this area. It may be to reset the Howler, but without having to cross back across that train track. But that's about it, really. I mean, also, here, it actually spawns this guy. This was the guy I was worried about, this guy. Well, normally, he often spawns when you're first entering this area, when you first come across the thing, but... And yeah, that's just mean. We cannot reach that from here. We'd have to backtrack pretty much all the way across that building to get back to it so we could grab that health, and I don't need it enough to do that. So let's not bother doing that, shall we? Let's just go back inside and solve our puzzle. Now that we have the tools to do so. So time for puzzle number 2. Once we get down these areas, we're clambering down these. In our skinny jeans. Or flares? Not entirely certain. Maybe just under jeans. I don't know much about fashion. Poorly modelled jeans, let's call them that. And let's summon Astral, which is taking some time to load her this time. Because yes, this is actually a loading screen. I can't move right now. I'm stuck until Astral shows up. Finally, she's finished in the bathroom. We can do this puzzle. So let's head up here and see what we can do with this new power that we've got once we get stuck in the ladder, briefly. First of all, there's not really much point doing anything with it right now. First of all, what we need to do is that switch there that you may have recognised from the pump room. We have to press another one here. So let's go and do that. Yeah, it can be kind of hard to see these switches because they don't look identical to each other. And they blend into the environment a little too well, so that can also be somewhat. You have to kind of have to rub Astral up against everything in non-astral form in order to actually find the buttons to push them. They could have at least put a small glow on them, but there you go. Or like a blinking light or something to make it obvious it's a switch. Every game has a little blinking green light, but now we'll see what this new power can do when we attract the Growler. Squealer. This guy. Oh, he gets sucked into the fan. Whoopsie! And where does that fan lead except this vent above Isaac? I keep saying Isaac is a Dead Space, I believe. Lazarus. There we are. So let's be careful not to let him see us, like happened on my practice run, which is kind of embarrassing, because that's when I had to leave that room to through that top entrance to reset the piggy. Let's just wait here till the piggy goes by and opens this door for us. There we are. And now he's going to go to bed. But we can't have that because we want his energy. We're just going to have to wait for him to calm down. Come on, dude, chill out, chill. Now he's facing away from us. He won't panic so easily. There we are. Now I want your ammo, so give it to me now. And there we are. So now we come to this upper door, to this area we saw earlier, with all these scaffoldings and things like that, and cliff faces. So let's climb the scaffold. Once we've explored this cliff, nope, we can't explore that cliff face, so let's climb the scaffold. This is a vaguely interesting part of the game, being able to climb this cliff. It's visually arresting from the different from the rest of the game, at least this part of the game. And it varies things because it's a vertical ascent instead of a horizontal movement, which most of the game has been up to this point. So it at least gives you a different perspective on, oh hey, look, you can look back at some parts of the level and see where you've come from and things. And it gives a good sense of progression as well, because everything else you're just going kind of onwards to a nothing in particular, just kind of going through a swamp, just doing the motions. Now we have an actual destination, the top of this waterfall. So let's reach it. And see what we can. This part's kind of misleading because that's a reddish section of floor that looks suspicious, like it should be falling away from us, but it doesn't. So that's kind of a weird texturing there. I don't know why they bothered to add a corrugated iron floor there when it has no practical purpose, but it's nice that they at least vary the texture. So let's now go through this somewhat damp cave and see what lies here. Yeah, also we can't fight in deep water, so be wary of that. However, we do have health. Yay, health! Because we were low on everything right now. And yeah, we'll have to go over this thing, because we can't go the other way. Oh, jumping wouldn't work, it's too far a gap. So let's shimmy across here. Because we don't really need to shimmy much, so it's nice of the game to make us do it a bunch till we remember it exists as a mechanic, so that if we need it later we can make use of it. And we'll see what's around this corner, besides more caverns. Oh hey, giant fish eating fireballs, okay. This is, I believe, called the Swamp Wraith or something like that. It's like a big fish thingy that spits fireballs at you. It's basically just a pinata for ammo, but it can go quite far away in this cave. You can make it a pain to hit it. Luckily though, projectiles are really easy to avoid, so these are actually one of the least threatening enemies in the game unless you get hit by them. Because those fireballs do hurt, make no bones about it. So let's now clamber down into this water and see what else we can find now that we've dealt with a vaguely interesting new enemy type as well. So I'll shimmy through the water. Climb up out here. Now we are actually going to end this update here because this coming up is the hardest fight in the entire swamp, in my opinion. So we are going to leave off here, giving you a sneak preview to the next area. You can see a small wall back there and a small wooden bridge here. So let's see where that's funneling us to as we move on to the next section of the game.